A warm welcome to you all to another episode of UCS podcasts. Through our podcasts, we, the team at UCS, are working to create awareness amongst our listeners on various issues around us which impact our lives. Last week, an article was published in the newspaper about a 17-year-old girl who committed suicide after being sexually harassed by her senior in school. Her suicide note mentioned, "A girl is safe only in her mother's womb or grave. Stop sexual harassment. Every parent should teach their kids and sons to treat girls with respect." This article got me thinking and framed the base for today's episode on, do laws in pursuance of a mischief actually serve the victim? In conversation, we have with us Miss Anupama, our chief trainer from UCS, who is a lawyer with 20 plus years experience with specialization in labor law, general corporate laws, is a director on the board of several companies, and who also has a postgraduate diploma in industrial psychology. Welcome, Anupama. To begin with, I would like to ask you, there are several laws in our country to prevent atrocities against women and children. There are stringent penalizations under the Indian Penal Code too, in spite of which you have incidents like the 17-year-old girl I mentioned continuing to happen. Why do you think so?
Thank you, Kaveri. And it's wonderful to be back on UCS podcast. Whenever there are atrocities happening against a certain section of a society, could be women, could be the example of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, it results in mischief in the society, and consequence to it is the enactment of a particular law. Mischiefs against women and children has resulted in enactment of many laws such as Dowry Prohibition Act, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act of 2013, the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012. These laws were enacted because of a mischief, injustice, crime, and inhumanity against women and children. However, often the actual victims of atrocities never get protection under the law, which was actually enacted for the very purpose of their protection. In the alternative, the law is misused by certain sections in the society who take advantage of such laws and use it for their benefit or ulterior motives. As a result, the generic comment is, oh, the law is misused by women, this law is one-sided. Let me take an example about the 17-year-old girl who committed suicide, mentioning that the girl is safe only in the mother's womb or grave. I read about it too and understood that actually no one in her family or in the school supported her when she was going around looking for help.
You are right. Women who actually suffer do not benefit from the laws. What do you think is the missing link? How do we ensure that laws are benefited by those who actually need it?
The reason that those who are actually suffering do not benefit from the laws is not due to just one missing link, but two. One, lacunae in law enforcement by the government, and two, lack of continuous education amongst the masses. Probably the first link is not something the general public can do much about, as it falls under the bureaucracy. However, lack of education amongst masses is something which we can contribute as citizens of this country. It is also to be noted that once the masses are educated, the first link will automatically follow.
Anupama, how is continued education important?
Continued education is important and helpful in many ways. Firstly, it helps in making people understand that there is a law to protect them. Secondly, to understand their rights and obligation. And most importantly, even for those people committing the wrongful act, it makes them understand and realize the effect and consequences of what they are doing. Unfortunately, in our country, whenever there is a law that comes into force in pursuance to a mischief, and there is an order or a demand made for continuous education, it is often just treated as a tick off on the checklist instead of giving effect to it in letter and spirit. Let's take the example of the Companies Act and the POSH Act. both of which came into effect in 2013. And I've mentioned this in several sessions that I've been to. The 2013 Companies Act was almost put into place with no errors within 2 years of the Act coming into force. And it is now close to 8 years since the POSH Act came into force. And how far are we with the compliance? Is it anywhere close to what the law stipulated? Has the government actually brought in a machinery to see whether it has been enforced? Now, this is why I make a mention right in the beginning that whenever a law comes in pursuance to a mischief, if there is no continued education and no proper enforcement authority, you will have instances of the 17-year-old girl repeating again and again.
I agree with this, Anupama. Recently, when I spoke to a friend who owns a startup with more than 80 employees, I told him about compliance under the POSH Act, such as conducting awareness sessions for its employees, constituting the IC, conducting orientation session for the IC, filing annual returns, etc. And he said to me, "Oh, that's not important. Why should I spend on awareness sessions and orientation programs?" He named a few other friends of his and said that they also have companies, but they don't comply with POSH. So why should I? I'd rather invest my money in something productive which will bring additional turnover for my company. And when I put money back into the company, it will anyway benefit the employees.
See, there you go. It is important whenever a law comes up, especially because of a mischief in the society, there has to be an equal obligation on all the stakeholders, including the government, organizations, the employees, to take this up seriously and to ensure that the society is educated to know how one can protect their rights and how a legal right must be used in the right manner. Otherwise, we will have the situation that we have faced with Section 498A of the Indian Penal Code, which has been most often misused and in very few instances has actually come to protect the actual victims.
Thank you, Anupama, for this wonderful session. What you have told us is absolutely true. Unless there's a collective effort by the decision makers in the society and the public at large to follow the law in the right manner, and the government takes strict enforcement actions, laws made for the benefit of women and children will still continue to be misused as a weapon by a particular section and will not benefit those who actually need help. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found this episode very informative and interesting. Do get in touch with us with your queries, suggestions, and feedback by emailing us at admin@upceedconsulting.com or writing to us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. We will be back soon with another interesting topic. Wishing you all a great evening.